As a child, I was always fascinated with the woods, while the beautiful pines scattered the land, captivating me with their size and showing me a picture of strength and resilience. The dark bush intrigued me with the unknown happenings of its solemn, mysterious, and unrevealing insides. I had been intimidated all my life by those woods because of that bush, although until now, uneasiness has been unsustained. I cannot seem to understand how I had known that there was actually something to be afraid of in those dark woods, but something inside me had been warning me all my life of the monster that I had been afraid of. If only I had listened to that feeling, I might be able to sleep soundly at night. My name is Shane Walker, and I live in a rural town in southeast Texas called Jonesville. I can see that some people could have trouble with that fact because of stereotypes assuming that people from Texas are uneducated and that there are no woods in Texas, but I beg to differ. Southeast Texas is home to a place known as the Big Thicket, which is a coniferous forest, incredibly humid and hot in the summer, while damp and frigid in the winter. The bush is so thick in this area that moving through it is difficult without a machete. As I digress, I grew up in a modern family of 5, including myself, my dad, my mom, and 2 sisters. My parents were always very protective of my siblings and I, as both insisted the world's changed since when I was little. Y'all can't wander around anymore without us worrying about you getting snatched up by somebody. So I was only allowed to go to friends' houses whose parents my family trusted. I spent my school days in the town's elementary school with a small class, even for our quaint town of 12 kids, so my friend's circle was fairly limited. And even when I graduated to junior high and into a bigger school, my circle did not expand due to awkwardness and shyness. Through junior high, I was only able to keep one close friend who I hung out with every weekend possible. This friend, named Devin Daniels, lived in a small house with his grandma. A house surrounded by woods that captivated me every time I came over. One day, in the 8th grade, after growing bored with playing Black Ops, I finally gave in to the natural childlike temptation to explore those woods. So Devin and I planned our expeditions to clear out part of the woods to build a clubhouse in which we would have a wide variety of adventures. We started off with a single machete and rake, which to most people in our area was not seen as a problem, as they believed 12 and 13-year-olds could handle themselves with machetes to a certain extent, and I began hacking away at the bush. As I was a bigger and therefore stronger boy, and Devin used the rake to start raking away the debris I was making. This kept us busy for a couple days, as I formed a boundary by hacking a circle clear around a large oak. After forming the boundary, we completed our endeavor. Looking at our handiwork, we decided that enough had been done to form a clubhouse. For the bush surrounding the round clearing we had made formed something similar to walls for us, and the shade of the oak provided cover from the unmerciful sun. If only we had built walls and a roof to protect us from the outside world, that fateful account with the predator would not have occurred. It was in those woods that my friend and I spent many nights after we had cleared out our section. I always felt that we should have had more protection, so every time we went to spend the night outside, I insisted we pitch a tent. My friend obliged every time, and we always brought out his old blue tent, that was found in his closet. And in this tent, we unknowingly met with the creature that would soon come to haunt my nightmares. One night, Devin and I were laying in the tent, texting people, exchanging ghost stories, talking about things that happened in our lives recently, and eating Cheeto Puffs, when I heard an unusual rustling outside. "Dude, you hear that?" I asked my friend. "No, what are you talking about?" Devin replied. "I just heard something in the woods. It sounded kinda big," I stated. "Oh no, maybe it's the killer coyote or the hash-slinging slayer. Dude, we're gonna die," he sarcastically retorted, mocking me for my fear of the woods and the dark. "Shut up, Dev. I'm serious. I heard something running around out there, and I'm getting pretty freaked out. Don't worry, Shane. You're just overreacting. It's probably just the wind. Or maybe it's that stupid coon that keeps scattering our trash around up at the house. Okay, but it sounded big. Just be a little quieter so we don't attract it, just in case it's something. Alright, wussy," Devin said, ending the conversation as I had no appropriate response to his insult other than rolling my eyes. The night continued on like all the other nights, with us conversating and jokingly insulting each other occasionally, when suddenly I heard another unusual rustling in the woods, this time more distinguished, and by the look of terror on Devin's face, I inferred that he had heard the noise as well. "See what I mean now?" I whispered to the frightened preteen. "Yeah, be quiet. It might hear us," he replied in a squeaky, frightened whisper. The two of us sat scared and listening intently as the wind blew through the pines surrounding us. As minutes passed, I heard slight rustling in the bushes, and it sounded like whatever was out there was coming closer to us. My feeling of slight discomfort burst into an agonizing terror as I suddenly realized the only thing standing between me and whatever was out there was a thin blue piece of fabric. My breath grew more frantic and exaggerated as I sat in the tent with absolute dread growing in the pit of my stomach. But soon the sounds ceased, and as they did, my panic started to cease as well. After about half an hour of quiet, I let out a large breath of air and smirked at my friend. "Ha! You were so freaked, man. Maybe it was the hash-slinging slayer," I mocked, making my voice slightly higher to match his whenever I let out the words hash-slinging slayer. "Shut up, you were scared too," he grumpily retorted. "Yeah, but not as scared as... Do you think it was somebody playing a prank?" "I sure Devin started to say, interrupted as if on cue by a loud scraping noise that seemed to come from the oak tree directly beside the tent. I looked directly at my friend and saw his face grow pale with an expression of terror I had previously seen only minutes before. The feeling in my stomach came back to me all at once, a feeling I can only describe as agony. As the volume of the noise increased, that horrible feeling of absolute terror grew as well, and as my anguish became more powerful, a short, loud shriek managed to escape my lips, and to my alarm and confusion, the scraping noise suddenly ceased. As I sat against the blue canvas of the tent, I intently listened for any more disturbances. The woods were quiet once again, except for the sound of the bush and trees flowing with the wind in a faint, recognizable sound that I could not quite place. It sounded near, but in a sense far away. Everything else in the world vanished as I focused on that sound. The steady, rhythmatic sound, so familiar, yet I could not quite place it. I pondered what the sound was, and how I could not seem to realize what it was, no matter how hard I tried. Soon the sound went away, and all was quiet. The rest of the night was relatively calm. The wind flowed through the trees the rest of the night, and there was no further disturbances. Terrified, my friend and I laid down for the rest of the night, unable to sleep and too scared to run back to the house. The morning eventually came after what seemed like an eternity, and Devin and I realized that we had made it through that terrible night alive. After grabbing our essential items, clothes, blankets, etc., we looked back at our broken clubhouse one last time and noticed two distinct things: claw and chew marks going into the large oak that was meant to have provided sanctuary for us, and footprints of whatever that beast was. As I took a closer look at the footprints, I noticed where the creature had gone during that traumatizing experience for Devin and I: the bushes facing our north side, which led to the oak. After departing from the oak, the large cane-like prints led to the south side of the tent, right by where I had been laying, and slowly I began to notice something. The familiar noise I had heard the previous night was the low and rhythmic sound of a large beast breathing. The creature had been inches away from my face. Hey guys, thank you for listening to today's Creepypasta, and I hope you enjoyed. I do have a podcast called The Murder House Radio Show. Check it out. The link will be in the description below. It is a true crime podcast. But if you did like, comment, subscribe, and share for more. Hit the bell notification when you subscribe and select all to get all notifications whenever I upload. I upload 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday, at least one video a day. Now, all the long episodes and full series of creepypastas are on all major podcasting platforms under the name deadly_zone_narrations. There will also be a link for it in the description. Also, go follow all the social media accounts. They are in the description below. I do have a subreddit called Deadly Narrations. The link will be in the description. Also in the description below are the sources to the creepypasta and the music used, so go check those out. Let me know what creepypasta you would like to hear next, or if you have your own you would like me to narrate. Or if you have a creepypasta series you would like to hear, send them to me on any of the social medias in the DMs or to my email address, which is also in the description, or leave them in the comments below. Also in the description below is the author's social medias if they have any listed. But that's it for today's creepypasta. I hope you enjoyed. Until next time in the Deadly Zone, stay deadly and stay spooky.